Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers. This morning I'm looking at a book from Jordan's Publishing. We've reviewed this book before. It's well known to many people. It's called Luce and Griffiths on Liquidators, and it's now in an 8th edition. This is the book here. It's been written by Peter Luce and Michael Griffiths. That's the book there. There's nothing on the back. The actual book is something like just under 700 pages long. You've got a comprehensive index at the back. You've got a number of appendices and guides to professional conduct and ethics, various other things concerning liquidators, codes and all sorts of other things. What you do have, of course, is the classic paragraph numbering at the sides, and you've got detailed footnotes at the bottom, which is very helpful. This is a useful book for anybody involved with matters concerning the role of liquidators, and as I say, it's now in a new edition. It's the role of a liquidator in a winding up, effectively. Do have a look at the preface. I should have shown you the front page. That's actually the front page of the book itself. But the preface is very important. It's been written by the two authors there, as I said. You can see it there. Then you go straight into the contents. You've got a table of cases, statutes, etc. What you do have, which is again useful, I think, is this list of actual abbreviations. But before we get to that, have a look at the actual contents pages there. It starts off with a general status argument, looks at winding up in some detail, and then it goes through looking at the position of creditors, powers and so forth. Then the actual committee and the meetings. Then you've got 5 appendices at the back. You've then got, as I say, the cases, and you've got a whole range of additional information, but the list of abbreviations is really quite helpful, because sometimes you can get very confused with what they're talking about. And it starts off with the actual statement about the status of the liquidator. It's an excellent book. We'll have a look at it. We've written a review which is on the web and in the journals, and we gave it the title The Law Relating to Liquidators. Pretty original title. It remains the definitive guide for professionals and advisors, and I think that's what it is. This is more in the way of a book certainly for a lawyer, but it's also a book, I think, for those who are involved in dealing with liquidators who are not fully qualified, but would in fact need to have some idea of what a liquidator actually does. And I think it's written in a relatively easy to understand written style. This is what we say. It's now in an 8th edition from Jordan Publishing, and it's a long established definitive work on company liquidations and the role and duties of liquidators in a winding up. And the fact is that in this 8th edition, since 1972, it testifies to the reputation of the book itself among practitioners for its and advisors for its authority, completeness and reliability. And you know you're getting a pretty substantive statement of law in one book, not a loose leaf work, but a proper book. No experienced practitioner in this area of law will need reminding of the economic roller coaster that has generally characterized the last 4 decades of business. Hence the utility and necessity of this book as a comprehensive reference source for specialists in this field. Examining the role of liquidators in a winding up, the book deals with their powers, their duties, relationships to creditors, and in addition, it examines the roles of members, receivers, and the court. So here, in a single volume of about 700 pages, is the specialist advice you need to guide the somewhat bewildered client through all aspects of the company liquidation process. The new edition contains all relevant updated material, including analyses of 4 key cases which I'll mention: BNY Corporate Trustee Services and Eurosale, for example, which clarifies the meaning of insolvency for the purpose of winding up of an insolvent company. There are other legislative developments discussed in these cases: Charamboulos and B&C Associates and HMRC versus Football League and Football Association. And there's the case of Re Stanford International Bank also, which provides important insights into issues involving cross-border insolvency. That's an area that's growing as we become much more global in the way we do our run our businesses and the business of business itself. The book also refers to further amendments to insolvency by various pieces of secondary legislation. It provides over 15 chapters and is a convenient and logical organised reference source for the busy practitioner in this area of law. Starting with chapter 1, which I showed you earlier, concerning the status of a liquidator, the subsequent chapters then go on to deal with the various aspects of winding up. That's the administration process itself, for example, as well as the powers and duties of the liquidator. An important and sometimes a bit of an emotive area, I hasten to add, because sometimes they don't do what you want them to do. Especially noteworthy is chapter 8, which examines the issue relating to creditors, of importance of course to the client. Also note the chapters which cover European Union regulations and administrations, because they certainly have put their own views forward from the EU. In addition to the extensive footnoting which I showed earlier, which is replete with valuable reference sources, there are 5 appendices at the back, including precedent letters, which I think are very helpful, with statutory and practice forms, and there are more than 30 pages of tables of cases, statutes and statutory instruments. So for practitioners embroiled in the often thorny problems generated by company liquidations, we think this guide places at your fingertips the information, expertise and advice you need to conduct your case successfully. And the publication is cited as at March 2014, and I'm reviewing this in the summer of 2014. Just to show the book again, there it is. It's a heavy book. It's not a paperback, it's a hardback. And just to remind you, that's what it looks like inside. And as I say, it's very much what you'd be comfortable with, because you've got the paragraph numbering and you've got the footnotes. And actually at the back, as I said, the index is actually quite detailed. And also, I think the actual guides at the back in the 5 appendices are well worth looking at if you need any assistance with the way in which you're tackling a case. Can I thank Jordans very much for this? It's an excellent continuing publication, and one that we find very helpful in the insolvency world. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.